Hi everyone, I am your host, Jade Haggard, podcasting from Art Universe Laboratory. Welcome to Artist Solace. Hello again, and thank you for listening to episode 13 of Artist Solace. Today, comedian Brent Terhune from Indianapolis, Indiana, joins me in the lab to discuss his life of comedy. Brent describes himself as an OG and got started with comedy at the age of 18 and currently performs stand-up full-time. By the way, OG stands for Original Ginger. No real gangster connotation there. He has an education and experience in radio and is now making videos on YouTube. He also is a writer and frequent guest on the Bob and Tom Show. We discuss complex issues regarding politics, satire, and government hypocrisy, much of which inspires his YouTube videos. Although his videos have satirical underpinnings, Brent tries to keep his stand-up act more truthful and uplifting, describing himself and his comedy as quote-unquote likeable. He wants people to come to escape their stressful lives, listen, and laugh at the absurdity of how lazy we are after we wake up with the remote stuck to our stomachs after falling asleep on the couch. We also talk about what it means to be successful for artists, what he does to get through tough times, and the importance of finding humor in the tragedy of life. Look him up online at brentcomedy.com. On there you will find some of his hilarious videos, upcoming tour dates, and an option to join his mailing list. Also look up Brent Terhune on YouTube and subscribe to his channel. He is also on Instagram and Facebook as Brent Terhune. I gotta say, he's one of the funniest comedians I know. We had the chance to see him perform at Crackers Comedy Club downtown this past weekend, and it was hilarious. Just the whole time, nonstop laughter. My face muscles hurt. So thanks, Brent, for making my face sore. I didn't recover for like 3 days. And my little brother came with us too, and he was just dying. Like, we thought he was going to die because he was laughing so hard. He's great, man. This is a great interview. I had a really good time with him. He was really engaging to talk to and kind of complex that towards the end you can just hear me kind of get tired. And I'm like, I can't follow what you're saying. You're too smart for me. So bear with me as my brain deteriorates talking to Brent about his comedy. I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Here's episode 13. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome to Artist Solace. Today, joining me on this episode, I have my friend and comedian, Brent Terhune.
Hey Jade, how are you?
I'm good. Hi Brent. Thank you for joining me today.
Good to be here in your underground layer.
It's above ground.
This is audio, so it could be anything we want it to be.
Okay, all right. I'll just edit that out. Like, yes, it's completely underground and awkward.
Look at that look at that submarine outside the window.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Some dolphins. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. Thanks for showing up. You didn't really show up on time, but
I texted you. I did you the courteous. I was supposed to be here at 1. I was at 1:07. I think I texted you at 1:02 that I was going to be here at 1:07.
That's cool. You know, it gave me time to brush up on some of your stuff and watch some of your videos. So I want to start out, by talking about what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So I see these videos you've been posting online on YouTube.
Yeah, I try to, I'm from Indianapolis, and this is where I live, and I don't have any plans of moving currently to any other city. So, I think the internet is the best way to reach people, especially being not in New York or LA, So it's just the videos came about of I have to do something to build my following because nobody else is going to do it,
Oh, yeah, okay. So you're just taking that extra step.
Yeah,
because it's a crazy weird thing.
Yeah, just and Twitter, you put videos on there, or Facebook, and it's the tools are in your pocket. What I use is a phone. And
you just record yourself with your phone?
Yeah.
Do you have some kind of setup or
just
what?
I have a tripod and I use my phone. I do have a camera that I've used before, but everything, like if people are like, I should start doing videos or anything, but I don't have the equipment. Yeah, you do. It's in your phone. I use a MacBook and I have iMovie. You have it on your computer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's all, the tools are all right there.
I have dabbled in iMovie. I still don't really understand it.
It's not, I mean, I can do it, so it's not terribly hard, you know.
Well, I'm still trying to get used to the GarageBand and just audio recording because this is all new to me. So.
We were talking before the mics went on of like troubleshooting. Anything anybody ever wanted to know is on YouTube. Yeah. So all you have to do is just type in your problem and somebody's showing you how to do it.
It's incredible.
That's college. You can go to college on YouTube, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately you just can't get credit.
Yeah. But they'll show you how to make your own certificate on YouTube of your own diploma.
I'm actually taking an introduction to sociology course, and they actually talk about that. They say you can make fake diplomas.
Yeah. Who really follows up with that stuff?
You know what they said? Nobody. Mm-hmm. But say if you're applying to a university or to a job, and you write on you have a diploma, or you write on your resume that you worked somewhere, they'll just ask you questions about that.
Yeah.
To see and they'll use that to gauge the validity of your
If you're being fishy, then they're gonna follow up.
Yeah.
But if you just answer competently, you'll be fine. I think.
Competently and more naturally.
Yeah.
Like if you have experience, then I think it would be easier, but it's good to know that. So just be prepared to lie if your degree isn't valid.
You've always pursued education ever since I've known you.
Yeah, man.
Because you were doing art for since I don't know how long I've known you, but now you're taking more classes.
You're with the crew of comedians that I first met in 2008.
Okay.
There's you, Bodart, Holt, Oskay, and there was like Blake Boatwright, Kevin Hubel, all those little.
Those guys are all.
People.
I would come to open mic and watch those guys.
Really.
But I'm still I'm friends with all those guys. But
yeah.
It's weird, being friends with somebody 20 years older than you. When you're a kid, that's impossible. But now as an adult, it's ages whatever,
Yeah. So it was since 2008. I just valued education. I was crazily going to school. And
so what are you taking now?
Well, right now I'm taking prereqs.
Yeah. For what?
I've decided to pursue my nursing degree.
Okay.
And I want to focus on the psychiatric mental health path because I've always been interested in psychology. Yeah. Slowly going to try to get my prereqs within maybe 2 years. I need 5.
Yeah.
And then I can apply for the accelerated nursing program at IUPUI because I already have a bachelor's degree. Yeah. So that's the higher aim I'm aiming toward.
You're going to be one of the most educated people I know.
Yeah, but still not like really. It's so crazy because I still don't feel like I'm successful. Yeah. Albeit experience I have. I've never really been. I don't know, man. I've never really been I always thought I would be able to earn a full-time income from my art. But I just. I'm 32 now, and I've been pursuing art for 15 years. And I just now recently decided to stop visual art and pursue podcasting and eventually music, and now pursue more in academia the psychology, the psychological aspects, maybe sociology, because sociology is really interesting. But maybe I can bridge these things because I'm interviewing artists and talking about their journeys, and so I'm interested in the psychology of creative people and what they kind of how your brains how our brains work. Hopefully you can't hear my stomach growling.
I can't.
I'm hungry. But anyway, I'm interested in how creative people, how their brain works. Because I think it's different from people who don't pursue creative outlets, for lack of a better explanation.
Well, you mentioned being successful. I mean, with arts, there's no success is all what you want. That's the problem of I can write a joke, or you can paint at 4:15 in the morning. Like at your job, if you had a regular job, that's just closed hours.
Yeah.
So it never turns off.
Yeah, it's so subjective. That's been a theme too that
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about in previous interviews, is even as far as like pricing of work or just value of work, it's so subjective. And I think that's why it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different...
And there's always somebody that'll do it for cheaper or for free.
I hate those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I just like to learn, like, and I'm finding out, because I'm taking this online class, like I thrive the most by myself. I can just read the chapter. Give me the computer and the book online, or even a real textbook, a notebook, and a Precise V5 extra fine point pen.
Yeah.
And I'll just read and write all day. And I'll paraphrase what I've learned, because I heard that's the best way for you to learn.
Make it your own.
Yeah. I can do that all day. So maybe I'm just more concerned with writing literature for people to write the literature and give teachers tools to teach. Like, I think I'd rather do that. But maybe more based on creative research.
I took online class. I took a couple. Most of mine was spent in a classroom. So it takes so much discipline to just do it. College in general, but like nobody's making you log on and read.
Right.
Because usually the professor, they care, but if you have to want to do it, So, and that's the same thing with any kind of art, is nobody's making you paint. Nobody's, it's all self-driven.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you're like, what is success? Or I don't feel successful, But you've done tons of stuff, but it's all, I get that way. I'll be like, I just need to work harder. My girlfriend's like, well, all you have been doing is working, But it is weird it just doesn't stop, There's no end point. Unless you put unless your goal is to say, I want to have this much in my bank account, you have to put some kind of qualifier on it,
Yeah, I think that's I think what I define as being successful too, like at the top, is I'm earning a full-time income off of it.
Yeah.
And I get to define that, of course, based on my needs. And I just haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like if I get to the point, am I still... Because once you get to that point, I feel like it's a way bigger ball for you to roll up the hill.
Yeah.
Like, this means that you're not working external jobs that you don't really want to do, but they're lucrative at the same time, maybe. So you're not working those jobs, you're just working on your art.
Yeah.
So it's almost terrifying, but...
Oh,
it's
for sure.
still,
and
at that point, you're like, you have way more responsibility, so...
Once you get up, if your goal is to get up halfway up the mountain, once you get up there, then you're going to look up at the peak and there's somebody up there. There's always somebody more successful than you,
right?
Doing stuff that you want to do. And I feel like if you got to the halfway point, and that's where you wanted to be, to me, then I would feel like I'm being stagnant. And even if I'm still creating, you still want to go higher.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I think growth occurs when you're uncomfortable. You step outside your boundaries.
Yeah. It's funny because George will say that. He said that to me in the past, because he's like, I don't think you like to be comfortable. And I was like, maybe you're right. Mm-hmm. Because it's hard for me to just stay in one spot. Like, I get bored doing certain things. So
maybe you're comfortable being uncomfortable.
And that's what I try to reason with him about. And I think that's one of the things he likes about me is I kind of push us. I push myself and I push us as a family to kind of take some risks. So yeah, that brings to mind the idea of always pushing yourself to be better than what you are, during the journey. So is that something that you try to like? How do you work, man? I'm interviewing.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on what I'm working on, I guess. It's always because you were talking about nursing and stuff, and then eventually you're going to take that back to art. I think you go live life, and then you come back and bring it to your art. So sometimes when I have jokes, the joke was written. The idea for the joke was 2 years ago, but now it's in like because I'm always interested in people's processes. I don't know. George Carlin was like, sometimes your brain is like a crock pot, and that you get the idea, and then you let it sit in your brain, and your subconscious does the work. But it could sit in there for 2 years, So some jokes that I have now, my jokes, my closing bit right now is from when I was in college with my roommate Phil. It's just a thing we did. It was, it was having fake fights in our apartment so our neighbors would hear and not fight as loud. That's the premise, but that's true. But it's, it's 2019 and I was in college, 2008 to 2012. So that's how long it took me to even think that and say it on stage and now have it down to where I like doing it and it's the closer,
Yeah.
So sometimes it just, it's got to ferment. But then sometimes I have a joke that I wrote yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's an act too, It just depends. Because sometimes I try and not necessarily force the creativity, and not manufacture it, but try to sit down, write an hour, and get something out of that, as opposed to waiting, 8, 9, 10 years for that joke to come along too,
Yeah, I see.
Because I think it's two different skills, but I still enjoy both. I enjoy sitting down to write.
Like short term and long term.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference between developing those kinds of jokes and humor and set as far as a set list too. Yeah.
But then with the videos, sometimes what people would say, oh, your videos, they're talking about political satire. It's a guy in the backyard ranting about whatever's going on.
Yeah.
And a lot of those, they get so many views because it's the hot topic right now. So if it happened yesterday, I got to have something today or even that night. So that's, it's a weird, landscape of letting a joke ferment or having to do it right now.
Yeah. So is your goal to be politically satirical?
No, like that. I don't do any of that on stage. Politics has never been anything that I care about. It's more, I think, with those videos,
Just
it's hypocrisy.
Videos, right?
Yeah, it's people wanting to burn their Nikes because they disagree, but you already paid for them. You could donate them, but yet you want to make a video showing the world how fake mad you are. And you're going to boycott the NFL when I know you're going to be watching next week.
Right.
So that's more hypocrisy, but politics is so divisive right now, Yeah. So it is the hot button issue, and it was never like I got to make something that's popular right now. It's just what was going on. It was me scrolling on my phone and just looking at people burning things. Like, just don't say anything. Just be mad but why do you have to show the world?
Yeah. Just wear the shoes. Don't.
Yeah, or don't wear take them to Goodwill. Take them to a homeless shelter and
let somebody else choose to buy or not to buy them.
Yeah, but it's already paid for. If you want to protest, go to a Nike store and set it on fire, which I'm not saying you should do, but I'm saying it's already paid for. They don't care.
So you're kind of pointing out the absurdity.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Absurdity of the anger.
Yeah, or to try and justify that somebody's a Christian when none of their actions have ever signaled that they're any type of Christian at all.
Wow.
Like you keep pushing sacrificing your beliefs for something, like you're going towards a cliff. I just want to see how far you're going to take your beliefs, until you go over the cliff.
Yeah. They're freaking funny though, man.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. But you also do. I've seen you do videos like every conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Or
those are the ones. I mean, I enjoy
ghost
all of
hunter.
them, but I like those too.
Uh-huh.
Where it's every conspiracy theorist or every ghost hunting show. Stuff that I like all that stuff, you know?
Okay.
And I don't think you can make those videos without loving those topics. Every Bigfoot hunting show, it's all the same topic essentially, you know?
Yeah.
But it's stuff that I watch in my free time, and that's another thing I've tried to do is take my hobbies and my stuff that I enjoy and make it funny.
Oh.
Because especially with comedians, you have to if you just look at everybody's funny, that's not necessarily true. But now how and what way are you going to be funny, you know? Because there's comics that are like, oh, they like MMA, and now I'm the MMA comedian. You're attaching yourself to something that other people like. You like it. I'm already going to watch wrestling, so why not talk about wrestling?
Yeah.
Half the work is done, you know. I'm already going to watch Bigfoot shows.
I see. Yeah, that's a good strategy. You know, find what you want to find, something that you like, that you enjoy, and
then be the
other
funny
people-
person. Be whatever the thing is you are, you know, in that genre.
Yeah, and then you'll find a following for pretty much anything.
Well, especially with the internet, you know, if it was no internet, it would be hard to talk about Bigfoot in Indianapolis because there'd be like 3 people, and they're probably weird. But you know, if
You have to like stand outside somewhere
with a sign,
maybe busk,
you know.
do some busking, Sasquatch busking.
Which, but with the internet, it's all micro communities, but it's macro at the same time.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal thing. It's like a good and bad thing.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's great as far as connecting people, but also at the same time it can be a little over the top.
Oh yeah,
Connect
sometimes
people.
there's too much internet, and
Yeah.
sometimes I just look at my phone and I just have to be like, all right, I'm not gonna do any. I'm not gonna not necessarily engage, but just stop reading things.
Yeah.
I just have to go do something else.
Yeah. So man, it's just so back to these videos then and how you actually execute them. Mm-hmm. It's just you. Do you ever have a friend come and help, or
No.
You videotape and then you just edit it yourself?
Yeah, it's all me. Because
That's
I mean,
incredible.
a lot of times I'm on the road or whatever, but I feel like once you bring in people, then you gotta. Are you available at 2 on Tuesday? Especially with something that's
right.
topical right now. You know, it's like, oh, I'm in Omaha and you're in Peoria. You know, like
Yeah.
it's just easier to do it yourself. That I find, you know.
It's just more of a challenge scheduling people.
Yeah.
Trying to get everyone together.
And if, you know, we've all done group projects before, and you've probably been the one that did all the work, but then somebody slides in at 11:59 and is like, let me put my name on this too, you know? So, and if you just have creative control to take it where you want.
Yeah. Complete autonomy and independence. Yeah, I like that.
And I found when you work in a group, sometimes you have great ideas, but it's also, you got to work with what you have. Like, you know, if they're like, oh, I need a Lamborghini for this sketch. Well, it's like, nobody has that. We have a Toyota. That's the car that we need, you know,
Right.
or whatever grand plan everybody has. But you got to just make something that's accessible. And if you watch I follow other comedians and I hate to use the word content creators because it's so bland, but I just look at what other people are doing, and sometimes a video of a guy clearly holding the phone up, shaky, and recording in front of no backdrop, nothing, gets way more views than something that's produced and edited. So it's all on the internet. Nobody cares. If the sound is okay and the video is okay, nobody cares.
Right.
And the quality of the content has to be good, you know?
I see. Quality of the content.
Just to get the idea out, because, you know, my thought is whatever you create next is and should be better than what you did last. That's not always the case. But over the course of 2 years, year 1 should not be as good as year 2.
It should be better.
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, right. And, like we were talking about with the podcast, like, I think I told you that every episode, I'm like, I think this is my best one.
Yeah.
But sometimes maybe I don't feel like I did better, and maybe... So, I mean, I guess you can't, like, what I'm trying to say is maybe you can't always be 100% pushing yourself all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so much shit that happens in life. But, I mean...
But it's also...
Just keep it in mind, keep it in mind.
Why was that not as good as the first one? Why was... You can always learn from it, and as you move on, you're bringing all this experience with you, That's why an artist can charge so much for a painting if they've been doing it for 50 years, Because it's like there's 50 years of experience in those brushstrokes.
Yeah, man. That's a good point. Yeah.
Did you ever hear that thing about, I think it was Picasso was sitting at a table, and that I'm probably butchering the story, but like he was having lunch and somebody goes, that's Picasso? And they go over and they're like, can you draw something for me? And he draws it on a napkin. He's like, that's $15,000. But they're like that took, or he's like, maybe it's $30,000, but the guy was like, it took you 30 seconds to draw that, but he's like, yeah, but it took me 30 years to learn how to do it in 30 seconds.
I heard a similar story. Maybe it was Picasso or someone else. I heard the story. The story was told. Maybe it's just a folk tale.
Yeah,
it didn't really happen. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a fable.
Picasso went out to, I think it was the same scenario where he went out to eat, but I can't even remember it now. Where's Malachi when I need him? Okay, no, here it is. So they were at a restaurant, and whenever the bill came, it was either Picasso or some other artist just drew a picture on it and then used that to pay the bill.
Oh, okay.
Does that sound familiar? I think it was a different
doesn't sound
artist.
familiar, but it doesn't sound outside of that story.
Like Salvador Dali or something.
Yeah, that seems like something he would do.
So,
to pay with his anteater or something.
Yeah, man. So, the better you are, the more valuable you are.
So, I try to just take everything I've learned so far and put it into the next project. So, and hopefully, sometimes you have duds, but that's creating is...
You're not always going to win.
No.
So.
Because if everybody won everything, then we'd all be more successful.
Yeah, and it's all these themes I've been learning about lately just tie into all of this. It makes the pursuit way more... There's more of an incentive to pursue the art or whatever you pursue that you like. There's more an incentive to pursue something you love if you know that your value could increase. You can attain more resources and make more money. So...
Yeah, and my thinking with making videos and stuff and whatever I do, it's all practice for... maybe a job later, nobody's going to hire you on the Daily Show if you've never done it. When you see a job application or whatever, and they want 5 years of experience, how do you get that? So what am I going to hire, the kid that's never done it or the kid that's done it for 5 years on his own?
Yeah,
and it's
just for fun.
Yeah, nobody told him, and so it's all practice for something. Whatever it is, who knows? But I think it's all practice. Especially, even talking on a microphone. I went to school for radio and built my education around, comedy essentially. So I did radio and I did PR stuff.
You majored in it? You majored in radio?
In electronic media, yeah. So, but my focus was on radio. So I took the radio class, 7 out of 8 semesters. And after, your third semester, you're an advanced student, so then you're kind of given reins to do what you want. So I did podcasts and I try to learn interviewing skills and stuff like that. And then I regret not doing TV stuff just to learn how to edit and stuff. But I did PR just because nobody's going to promote yourself and represent you more than you, you know? Mm-hmm. Nobody cares about you until you can make them money.
Well, true. Yeah, I remember that now. Because you were talking about back in the day, you remembered I was in school. Now I remember you working for radio. You went to...
University of Indianapolis. Yeah.
Okay. And what... Did you work on a specific radio show?
It was on the station. It's called WICR, so it's a jazz format, which is weird because I don't think many students know anything about jazz, but it's something in the community that's not being served. You know, there's probably 5 country stations, so you could have the 6th country station, or you could be the only jazz station.
It seems like jazz is really popular as far as live performances here around town. But whenever you talk about radio show or radio stations, I guess there aren't as many.
Yeah, I mean, but it was so weird with radio now. I mean, when's the last time you listened to the radio?
This morning.
This morning?
Bob and Tom.
Well, that's the show I work for, too. But it's weird of, like, on the do you have the radio on all day compared to 5 years ago, you know?
Ah, I see.
It's changing mediums. It's the same medium, but it's changing how we consume it. Because there's when I was in high school or college, actually, it was like, they say radio was dead. That was always the thing in radio, but it's not. It's different. It's this show. It's the Joe Rogan podcast or whatever it is. You know, it's all becoming one thing.
But it's just how shifting to a different platform.
Yeah, different platform perhaps. Of like, you can consume Joe Rogan in audio, or you can watch him on video. That's all the same thing. Yeah. But what it comes down to is interacting this right here, this interview style, that, having conversation.
Yeah, and you can be more selective now with what you want to hear. Yeah. You can choose what you want to hear. And that's what we humans love. Mm-hmm. We want to be able to choose, we want to be able to choose everything in our life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to have choices. We don't want anyone to tell us what to listen to. Yeah. So,
because before it was 3 or 4 broadcast channels and that was it on TV, but now there's the golf channel. Right. You can get that narrow.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a podcast about the golf channel.
Yeah. So, when did you realize you wanted to be a comedian?
I started when I was 16 in high school. We would have things called coffee houses, which is an open mic. So, people do acoustic guitar and poetry, and I went up and did stand-up, and then, my freshman year of college, I got my first hosting week at the club here, and then they gave me a check at the end, and that was never the goal, was to get the money at the end. The goal was to get the week so I could have 5 or 6 chances to perform 10 minutes of comedy, which was 10 minutes was like, oh my God, I got to stretch, Mm-hmm. But then they give you a check at the end. I'm like, oh, you can make money doing this. So then...
And that wasn't even your goal.
No.
Wow.
But it was, what a bonus at the end. Yeah. Well, I was 18 at that time. But then I went to school. I got a scholarship, so I didn't pay anything for education. How'd
you get a scholarship?
I was smart and poor. Okay. So there's at least here in Indiana, it's called the 21st Century Scholars Program. So
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so you just have a good GPA and don't make that much money, Yeah. So I did that, and I just kind of tailored the education around stand-up. Wow. I should, like I said, I regret not doing more TV stuff, and I probably should have just broadened my education overall, what we all should be doing. But I just tailored around that, and then I got the internship with Bob and Tom, and I still work for them today. But that's writing every night topical type jokes, like you would hear Jimmy Fallon do it in his monologue.
Uh-huh. You have to write every night for Bob and Tom?
Sunday to Thursday nights, yeah. So 5 days a week.
And they broadcast Monday through Friday then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, just topical jokes of like, oh, a guy drove his car into Arby's today. So, you write whatever jokes come to mind,
How many writers do they have?
Jeff Oskey does it. Sam Griswold, Tom's son, is kind of the head of it now, like just organizing stuff, him and his girlfriend Pauline. So there's probably 4, 5, 6 people that do it, you know, every night.
And so how much do you have to write?
It just
Is there a
depends.
requirement?
I don't think there's a hard and fast rule, but, you know, I try to write a couple jokes per story. Sometimes I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, I'm not funny today. You know, like, whether you're tired or you're just not feeling it. That's why there's other writers, because sometimes it's just not clicking.
Yeah.
You know?
You can't force it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just...
And that's the thing I think Tom understands is, you know, he's on air for 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week. So that's just to be funny all the time. And, you know, I could be funny at night, but I need to be funny in the morning, you know. It's not forcing it. It's not manufacturing it, but it's channeling it, I think.
Yeah.
So I do that every night, and that's good practice. Just to learn how to write short, and you write for Twitter, essentially. Write me a joke on Twitter. It was 140 characters. Now, I don't know. It's longer now, but give me the bare bones thing, you know? Because if I go on a 10-minute thing about the story, the less funny it becomes, you know?
Yeah. So they'll ask you for Twitter jokes, or you're just...
No, but
that's
just just the example of, you know, a guy did this, here's the punchline, you know? 2 sentences.
So do Tom and Chick, I mean, do they try to make up their own stuff? Like on
Yeah, it's only...
broadcasting, and then they use their stuff.
Like, Tom is the guy that we send everything to, so nobody else has that stuff, but I think a lot of it is just 20 hours of, you know, talk for 20 hours this week. It's like, not, I hate, you know, I said content creation, but it's also, sometimes my joke won't make it on air, but I think sometimes it'll inspire somebody else to write that joke that will, and vice versa, you know?
Yeah.
But Tom is just, he's an orchestrator of, I get at 13 after the hour, we have to go to this break, and we got to do these 3 live reads for the Shane Company and Sherry's Berries. So he's got like 8 things going on at once, not to mention interviewing the guest or whatever's going on, you know. So that dude is an orchestrator for sure.
Nice.
And it's interesting to watch what he does and how he does, because, you know, he's looking over your shoulder at the clock, and in my head I'm like, what, did I say something wrong? But he's like, he's just orchestrating, you know.
Yeah, he's just, has to pay attention to everything. Man, that's a lot.
And
you
because
think it's harder for him now that Bob isn't on the show?
I probably, just because, you know, with the rapport that those guys had for over 30 years, and, you know, if Tom's off, Bob's on, and vice versa, you know. So now Bob is just hard to replace.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Are they trying to?
They have Josh. They've added permanently. He's Josh Arnold. He's a comedian from St. Louis, and he's really great in that spot. But again, nobody's going to be Bob. It's called Bob and Tom. Nothing against Josh or whatever, but I think Bob is Bob. You know.
Yeah.
And the audience built a rapport with those guys, so
they can't replace that legacy. Of
course. It's hard to.
Yeah.
You just have to. It's like. Just building rapport, and you just don't do that overnight, you know.
So you had an internship with them. This was...
Yeah, 2011, I think, is when I was there.
While you were in school, or did you graduate?
No, I was still in school.
So then, what did you have to do then?
I went in every day. Now I don't have to go in, and I don't have to get up early. It's great. But when I was there, I would get up and go and be in the building every day, from 6 to 10 or, 5:30 to whatever. So I think I would leave early because I had certain classes that I had to get to. But, I was just there every day listening to the show, being around the building, going to some of the writers' meetings or whatever. Now that I don't think they have too many writers' meetings anymore, but just being around and seeing how the process works.
Did you have to write?
Yeah. I was pretty much doing the same thing that I do now. And my goal was to treat it like a job because Jeff Oskey was already working for him, so I knew that was a possibility. Mm-hmm. So there was some days where I would, for an internship where I just got credit, no money, I would write 8 hours a day, which is absurd.
Yes.
I don't even do that for me in a week, it's just. But I wanted the job because I knew if I could write for Bob and Tom, that's practice writing. That's money that I don't have to go work at the hospital in the kitchen when I worked at a hospital.
Oh, yeah.
In the kitchen. So it all
coming back now.
tries to facilitate me performing.
You're trying to run away from the hairnet.
I never had a problem with the hairnet. The beard net was the problem.
Did you have a beard back then?
I did. It was very short. Now it's lengthy.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it was all facilitating me performing live.
Yeah.
That's what I tried to do my whole career.
You were just aiming high at a really young age. I remember all those guys talking about how fascinated they were that you were so young and you had all that ambition.
I mean, it's gone away now, but youth. But yeah, I just tried to facilitate everything so I would, live performance. That's all I wanted to do. So far, so good.
Yeah, and so when you were done with the internship, they just then hired you to write?
Yeah, like a couple days left, Tom walked in. He was like, I think we're just going to keep you on staff, so...
We're going to continue the relationship.
Yeah. So, and I've been writing for them. It's weird because, like, SNL's got a season, but Bob and Tom, not to compare anything that I do to SNL, but it's like they worked 12 weeks, a season, then they got time off, but Bob and Tom is every night for the year. I think we get about 2 weeks off a year, so it is every day writing, creating stuff. And now I want to take some of that stuff that I've done and use it for because sometimes I'll take the joke that I wrote last night and put it on Twitter, and it's extra stuff for people to look at,
Yeah.
But I want to take that and harness it and maybe do some kind of like 3-minute weekend update style show,
Yeah.
But again, nobody's saying why don't you do that. It's all I got to do that, So it's hard. It's hard to just find the time to do every, driving to gigs. Well, you're a mom and you got jobs and so you know how it is. I'm not telling you anything new.
Well, it's might be the trick with anything. The hardest part is balancing everything so that you're taken care of, but
yeah.
And so that you're, I guess for me, from my point, it's hard balancing taking care of me, pursuing my creativity, making money to pay the bills so my children don't starve.
Yeah.
And making sure the family's okay. And, I got to spend time with George. Man, sometimes just some weeks, some things get put on the back burner and other things are up front. And then other weeks it's flip-flopped. But I would just rather make my own schedule like that.
Yeah.
I would totally rather be more be able to choose how to balance everything,
As opposed to having a clock in at 8 a.m. every morning.
How do you get through tough times? Like, what do you... I've talked to a lot of different artists, and they always have these things that they do. They have techniques or perceptions of life, or opinions on spirituality.
Yeah.
That helps them kind of get through life or push through the tough times.
One of the things I just cope with humor. I mean, it's a defense mechanism, but...
Duh.
Yeah, like 5 years ago, my brother died. Thanks for bringing that up. And that's the joke I use.
My pleasure.
I know my brother died, right? And that's terrible. But then, whenever around my friends, people that know me, inevitably I'll talk about my brother, and I always say, my brother. Thanks for bringing him up. He died. Like just around people, and that's a kind of a coping mechanism. But it's really funny.
Yeah.
To say, thanks for, or I'll be, like back before 9/11. Thanks for bringing that up. Just like. Take it and turn it on whoever else is around.
Some laughing.
Yeah, I know.
Absurdity,
And then, like, you had Jeff Bodart on, and I started doing that around him and Matt Holt, and it was always fun to do it around Bodart because he would get uncomfortable. I think he still does.
Oh, really?
And that's why I do it around him. Just, but it's, that kind of just make it funny. Because you can either make it funny or be sad about it. So,
yeah,
what would you rather?
It's a sad thing.
Yeah.
These are sad things that happen, but making a joke about it and getting people to laugh about it. It's a part of the healing process, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and
Coping.
that's what comedy is to make you not feel alone. Like, if for something to be funny, it has to be truthful. I don't think anybody laughs at something that's not truthful.
Hey, yeah. Well, Bodart said that honesty always gets the best laugh.
Well, I mean, if you're honest, a lot of times other people have experienced the same thing you have.
Right.
And that, if I say, you ever fallen asleep on the remote and you wake up and it's pressed onto your body or what, like you get the outline of the remote. And that's not even like a tragic thing, but people are like, oh yeah, I've done that. That's how lazy I am. I've fallen asleep on the remote.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody can relate to it, it's a thing to let you know that you're not alone.
Most people can relate to tragedy too.
Yeah.
Because we've all experienced
somebody has
tragic
died somewhere,
things. Yeah. And some are worse than others. Like, I haven't experienced my brother dying, but how I would cope with that, I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, healthy ways of
funny.
coping,
I still find myself that I can laugh at terrible jokes like that.
Yeah. And my girlfriend has the same sense of humor, so it's always, she'll say something terrible and we'll just laugh, like.
This is going to be terrible. But anyway, speaking of horrible things people make jokes out of. I don't know if you saw this video or not, but George showed me this video of, it was like a 5-10 second maybe video. Mm-hmm. And it looked like these doctors, all you could see were their hands. Mm-hmm. They were picking up fetuses that they had aborted.
Hilarious.
Picking them up.
Yeah.
They picked them up and did like some little rap.
Oh, yeah.
And made them beatbox for a few seconds and then threw them down.
I think that video is a hoax. Is it a hoax?
God. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always kind of keep a little skepticism in myself when I see things.
Any kind of video like that, yeah.
Real? I don't know. But it looked real.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked real, but...
I think I've seen that video, but it is... What a fucking... juxtapose the terrible thing of a dead anything versus making it dance.
Especially if it's it has to do with abortion.
Yeah.
Because that's a really hot topic.
It's always
lately.
Will be and always has been.
Oh my God.
It's... Or there's that video it's popular again, but it's that guy in the... Do you know when they'll say, back it up, Terry? Put it in reverse, Terry? It's this guy in a wheelchair, and his friend lights the firework next to him, and somehow Terry is in a wheelchair, can't reverse his wheelchair. So the thing is going off literally right next to him, and the guy's like, oh, Lord, Terry, put it in reverse. And then just like... Thankfully, he didn't get hurt. It would be different if he got hurt, but it was like... Just these fireworks going off right next to this guy. And the guy's, oh, put it in reverse. Like, just something like that,
Yes.
Just so funny. But it's like...
Do you deal with anybody that... do you ever deal with anybody or audience members that get offended or heckle you because you say something that's offensive?
Not really. I mean, but I think a lot of my... on stage, I think what I really have going for me is I'm... likeable, and I'm not bragging, but it's like I'm not threatening to anybody. I'm not gonna steal your woman. I'm not gonna kick your ass. So I'm really non-threatening to anybody. And what I talk about is like political satire stuff. I don't do that on stage at all, just because it's so hard to talk about that. But that's not really what I'm interested in anyway. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what was even the question. I don't remember. But
do you deal with any heckling?
Oh, not
people
really.
Who get offended, like online.
Yeah, online for sure. That
for sure.
Like
really?
All the time. Like, but that's the satire is people complain that it's too real. Like
on the videos.
Yeah, like they'll say that's too close to the truth, which that's what satire is. I'm a guy in the backyard. I have a big beard, and I could probably pull off looking like a redneck. I talk like one in the video, but what I'm saying is the complete opposite of what people would, it's the irony of burning Nikes while wearing Nikes in the video.
Yeah.
But people are like it would be funny if it wasn't too real. Well, that's why it's satire. If it wasn't real, then why would it be funny in the first place?
Yeah, it's
again, that's
hard
the
to
truth.
Wrap my head around if it's not funny because it's too real.
Because it's such a tragic thing to people,
Give me an example.
I don't know, like in that video, the one where I'm burning Nikes, it's about people protesting the NFL for people taking a knee, and they're taking a knee because it's brutality against black people. Whether, there's a video of a guy getting choked out on video by cops and nothing happens to the cops, that kind of thing where it's like...
That brings a different twist to it now that you told me the backstory behind that.
Well, yeah, but they're saying even just the character, like there really are people out there like that, and that's why it's funny because I am that person, but I'm not at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like that's what satire is taking it up to the truth, but not being the truth.
I see. I have to look that up. Because I know I've always heard that, satire, but I've never really I don't think I've ever truly understood the concept. Because it's an abstract concept.
Well, and it's when, like, Colbert had his show, Stephen Colbert, the Colbert Report, where he's playing conservative newscaster. When I was a kid, I was like, what is this? This guy's a blowhard. But then you realize he's being funny. It's saying things... in an ironic manner,
Okay, now I can kind of conjure up.
So it's like I'll say it's about it's about goddamn time that these hurricane victims got what was coming to like it's about goddamn time these teachers were underpaid, just stuff like that where it was completely absurd. Who says that kind of thing,
Right.
But it's taking that bravado and that stance of it's about time these kids were put in cages that came over the border. That kind of... Well, that's a horrible thing, but it's funny to say that because who takes such a strong stance against somebody? In comedy, you always punch up. So you make fun of the rich and you make fun of politicians and but you never, you see it all the time, but it's like making a joke about a homeless person where it's like they're already homeless. They've already got stuff going, it's not going well for them. So why would I pile on more shit for that person? But if you're rich and a billionaire, by all means, go ahead.
As in, you would make fun of them?
Yeah, you would make fun of them just because they're already doing nothing. Everything's going so well for them, Or a politician who would, sign a bill and saying, kids shouldn't get free lunch at schools, when a lot of times that's when kids eat, is at school, impoverished kids, that's just a hypothetical. But then, I'm going to make fun of that politician for saying don't feed these kids, like it's people that are ripe for being made fun of. And nobody's going to bat an eye because, you should be made fun of,
That is so funny. The comedian, man. Like, that's why I'm so fascinated with comedy. Mm-hmm. Whenever I choose to watch with TV, it's usually comedy.
Yeah.
Stand-up. Because even if the comedian didn't write the act, somebody wrote it.
Yeah.
Somebody thought up these jokes. And somebody... And, the comic, either he wrote them or not, is performing them in front of an audience. And I love that aspect about it because... Especially when you're telling the truth, if you bring it up forth, you can really talk about it in comedy and just say, "Oh, it was a joke."
Yeah,
and it kind of brings up issues in society. It's like a kind of a way for us to keep ourselves in check. Mm-hmm. When you bring up absurdity, like a politician not paying for kids' lunches.
Who's gonna pay for that? But then it's the same people that will read the story of Jesus fed the multitudes. But then my tax dollars ain't gonna pay for these this $1.50 a kid when it's you don't pay taxes in the first place. Whatever type of person you are, it's but nobody mentions the $600 billion a year for military bombs. Where it's people always I love it when that's when you look up the comments on any news story, it's, well, who's gonna pay for this? It's who's gonna pay for,
Thanks for bringing your redneck out.
Yeah, I know, but that's when I read those comments, that's what I picture those people saying. Or people vote against their own, poor people voting against their own well-being,
Mm-hmm.
When it's like you're voting for tax cuts for the rich when you're the farthest thing away from being rich. Even if you had $100,000, you're not rich compared to rich people.
So then you'd be,
It's just people voting against their own well-being.
So for people voting against tax cuts for the rich?
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you vote for tax cuts for the poor?
So they don't have to make taxes?
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to not have to pay tax, or whatever it is, or free lunch for the rich versus free lunch for the poor, like
it's still, it's hard for me to wrap my head around some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep, yo.
Oh, it's just, but that's what with those videos, that's why really I try to showcase.
Think, it seems like, it's making me think.
Well, it hurts my head, so.
I'm just going to have to take a nap. Thanks for coming on, man. Do you have any advice you can give to anybody? Any last minute?
I guess for creative people, I don't know. I mean, for comics in general, what I do is stand up and just write everything down. Just go listen to whatever George Carlin says to do. But
is he one of your inspirations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, so is Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock and Mitch Hedberg. There's a wide array, because my stand-up is the farthest thing from Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle or George Carlin. Like, I'm just a likable dude on stage talking about my family and being lazy and stuff like that.
The truth, man.
Yeah,
keeping it real.
The truth about being lazy. But yeah, I would just whatever you want to do, just go do it, because, like I said, you have a movie studio in your pocket. You have a recording studio in your pocket. Don't wait. I need to get this. I'm always this way. I need to get this microphone so I can do a podcast. Well, you already have that in your pocket. I need to get this best camera ever. Well, odds are the camera's going to be way better than what you're creating. So just go do it. I mean, you can get the best technology, but if you're just starting out, it'll look good, but just go do it. Regardless.
Yeah, like we have all the tools and resources at our hands for you to.
Yeah.
All the opportunity is here for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But you just can't wait for someone to knock on your door and be like, hey, come and do this movie. You seem really great, but no one's going to fucking do that.
Nobody's going to do it unless you do it. And then people will take notice.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
This was awesome. I can't wait to have you back on. I'm gonna look. I don't know, man. That was inspiring, because you seem to have a really complex approach to your comedy. You seem to, because these are really kind of deep issues.
Yes,
especially politically speaking.
Yeah, I don't know. But those are all in the videos. Like, my stand-up is nothing about that either. Which is not what I
just watched the joke because I went to your website.
Yeah. You mean BrentComedy.com?
I haven't. Yes. Unfortunately, I don't work at Crackers anymore, so I'm not really much in the comedy world. Whereas previously, I would see you guys all the time, and I'd be like, "Yeah, this joke's hilarious." But I watched one of your the joke about the pizzeria.
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that, because your jokes on stage are just completely different. They're not as dense or complex. But
well, I don't think they're going to make anybody mad. If you come to see my show, I don't want anybody leaving upset or mad. I think the idea of seeing a live show is to take you away from whatever is shitty in your life.
I see.
That's what Transformers is, the movie, or Fast and the Furious. It's all unless you go see a heavy movie with a concept, that's going to make you think about terrible things, which a lot of times what you're going to go see. But
And there's already so much suffering in the world, you know.
Yeah.
Why make it worse? Just eat some pizza and
get pizzeria.
Try to get pizzeria.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about escapism.
Yeah.
And making you forget about how bad things are.
I like that. All right, so tell everyone where they can find you online.
BrentComedy.com is my website, and then I have all the links to everything you ever wanted to know about me. So Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube. That's, pretty much where all my stuff is.
Are you performing anywhere soon?
Yeah, I have a schedule on my website. I'll be in Peoria and Omaha, and I'll be in Indianapolis here next month in August. So I don't know when this will come out, but all my live tour dates are on my website. Okay.
Yours is gonna come out, I think, the second week of August. So maybe it'll come around the same time. But
yeah.
Hope to catch you sometime. I've tried to. The cool thing about this too is I'm getting introduced to people's worlds, and I want to try to support you and help get your name out there, and maybe come and see you. Make a point to come and see you. It's like, this feels like work, man. I went to a music festival. I was trying to go see one of the band members I interviewed, and they wound up getting canceled, but it was still kind of a cool thing. It was down in my hometown, and it was like, I really want to go to this. I'm actually really excited. I want to go there. I want to show him that I'm supporting him, and it just gave me that good feeling.
And it's also, I find that whenever I watch other art that's not stand-up, it's always inspiring to me too to watch that kind of stuff. I remember one time I went and saw this improv troupe. They wrote a musical, and it was like just watching how they perform versus stand-up as a guy with a microphone and a stool.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's like they're similar paths, but just
the goal is to make you laugh, but they're way more elaborate with it. It's a bigger show, know. When you go watch somebody's indie fringe show or any kind of fringe, or it's a themed show, and it's, to me, there's a lot more work in those versus stand-up, but, I think I take it for granted because stand-up is all they do, so now it comes naturally versus creating a whole show about another topic,
I heard it's one of the hardest. Who was it that said it's the hardest thing? Somebody really famous. He plays in The Jerk.
Steve Martin.
I think it was Steve Martin. Either Steve Martin or
Steve Martin.
Some other guy that just recently died. I think it was Steve Martin.
Okay.
Anyway, I saw an interview of him somewhere. At some point he said it was the hardest thing. And even Joe Rogan says that stand-up was harder for him than MMA.
Mm-hmm. Well, MMA, you just have to react, and not to take away from any kind of broadcast or anything, but stand-up, I need you to laugh at the end of everything that I say.
Yeah, I hear it's just you need the work, you need the audience. Yeah, there. You can't just.
I need you to want to be there,
and produce something and put it out and hang it up on the wall. Or have people listen to it. It's like you need the audience there for it to work.
It's the hardest thing I've done is stand-up.
Right.
But, that's why the videos come easier because I don't need anybody there. I just have to trust that what I'm saying is funny.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to laugh at everything, but I need you to laugh at, 51% of it.
All right, Brent. I really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thanks for listening to Art of Solace, and I hope you join me on the next episode. Bye-bye.